Welcome to Pass the Outlet, episode 2. I'm your host, Michael Benjamin, joined as always by my wingman, Chris Patrick. Chris, how you doing today, man? You are muted, Chris.
It's amateur hour! What up, Mike? I'm happy to be here. It's been a crazy weekend. We just did a fantasy football draft, but I'm here to talk about basketball tonight.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm happy to be here as well. And welcome to everybody who's watching or listening. And here at Pass the Outlet, we look to take a deep dive on everything basketball, from culture, current events, coaching, and of course, our local teams. So make sure to drop a follow on Twitter and Instagram at AZ_BSP. You can find us on Facebook at Valley Sports Plug. And please do not forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to our YouTube page at Valley Sports Plug. Chris, we got a special one today. So on episode 1, we took a deep dive into me, kind of talked about my journey in basketball from the very beginnings, my experiences as a Suns ball boy, and even to now with coaching and, still playing and trying to stay active at it. So we want to do the same thing for you today so you can introduce yourselves to all the people and, see kind of what you got and your history around the game. So are you ready to go, man?
I'm ready. I don't know how I'm going to pass up the ball boy and the point guard to center and all those stories you had, but we'll hear my side of the story. We'll see.
Well, hey, it's not a competition. And my favorite thing about basketball is that everybody has their own different story. And that's why we're here today to share a little bit about yourself. So
yeah.
First and foremost, let's go way back. Let's go back to when Chris Patrick is a young gun, first playing sports, getting active. What was the first sport that you ever played?
Yeah, so I think like you said on episode 1, I think like most of us really, it was youth soccer. Me and Mr. Ben Miller, who we had on the roundtable a couple weeks back, our parents got us into soccer real young. I think we were either in kindergarten or right around that age. That's how long I've known that dude. But yeah, we were just no good at it. We just wanted to goof off and mess around and throw grass at each other. And we ran around. We were both pretty, fit and athletic as kids, but soccer just wasn't it for me. So I quickly gravitated towards basketball naturally because that's what my older brother, Matt, who is also a contributor here at VSP, he pops in every now and again. That's what he was playing. And I just wanted to be like my big brother. I wanted to listen to all the music he was listening to, play all the sports and all that.
Nice. Now, did you ever find yourself playing any other sports? Like, did you do Little League baseball? Did you ever try out football? Or was it straight to basketball?
Oh, man, that's a great question. Because at first I was like, oh, pretty much just basketball. But then like when I think about it more, really interesting, actually, I never did baseball, hockey, but I did in middle school and even my freshman year of high school, I did wrestling. I actually only did wrestling 6th grade in middle school and then 7th and 8th grade basketball because there was no 6th grade basketball team and I still wanted to do a sport. Anyway, we can maybe get into more later why I didn't play basketball in high school, or I could get into it now. But anyway, with wrestling, it was an interesting experience. I got in really good shape doing that. I found out how much energy is exerted in 1 3-minute round, 2 3-minute rounds. It was crazy. I felt more exhausted after 1 3-minute round than any half of basketball I had ever played. So that was just real eye-opening experience. But no, pretty much after that, my freshman year, stuck with basketball. I will say, though, I did remember, and I laughed when you were asking that question because I went out. I thought I was going to go out for the football team my freshman year, actually, before I did wrestling, and wanted to be like a wide receiver, cornerback. Wasn't quite sure. I'd never played football before. I did one practice it was a helmet only practice, and my neck hurt so bad. I went home. I'm like, Mom, I'm not doing it. And I think they do that on purpose. I think the first 2 weeks are just brutal. They're having you run. They're having you do all this uncomfortable stuff. And they weeded me out quick. So I stay inside with the air conditioning.
Hey, that's especially here in Arizona. I don't blame you at all. Those summer camps, man, those are killer. But that'll be a good question to ask as far as what are your thoughts about being a multi-sport athlete when we start having some of our friends who work in the youth sports business and a couple of our AAU buddies as well, because I want to get their
Yeah.
take on how they feel about not just doing basketball a year long, but that's for the future. But today, so Chris, you found yourself basketball. It was your love. But when did you know that? When did you know that you really were enamored with the game and everything that came with it?
Hmm. Yeah, great question. And I think, oh man, I think we all kind of have like a period in time. I don't know, because when I was thinking about this question before, when I was asking you, I was thinking at first that you might have like a point in time. But if I remember correctly, it was more of like a time period where you kind of had that transition. And I think that happened for me pretty early on, after soccer, when I started getting into basketball, and I kind of, in a way, became like the pseudo captain of the team. I was pretty much the only kid on this, and this was like rec league. This is NYS. It's similar to like YMCA level ball. Nothing crazy, but I was the most consistent person. My mom was like the team manager, and I'm like got a ton of playing time, and I just got so into like, and right around that time and that age, to put it in perspective, was when Steve Nash era was happening, 05, 06, and that era. So I really modeled my game after Steve Nash, and just fell in love with, like, NBA. I was even watching college basketball at that time, playing basketball, getting the shoes. I had a ton of Dada Supremes. That were super popular, blowing up East Bay. They were like $40. My mom was like, "Heck yeah, you don't want $100 Jordans? I'll buy you $40 Dadas all day." So I think it was around that, like that young age, like fifth or sixth grade, when I was just like, yeah, basketball is it.
Yeah. And one was always the kicks for me when I was growing up. I remember I had this awesome pair of black and white slip-on and ones that I absolutely tore to the ground. I wore them until there was holes coming out of both sides, but I could totally attest to that in regards to that. So, so when you started coming up playing in the game around fifth grade, you said, who were some of your idols? Like, who did you look up to in the game?
Yeah, no, of course, the first and easiest one I could mention is Steve Nash. I kind of really modeled my game after. As you know, when we first started playing, I wanted to do all these behind the back passes, no look passes. Had a decent, completion percentage, or whatever turnover ratio. But every once in a while, I'd chuck one out of bounds and get a little sideways look from Michael Benjamin. But um, no, Steve Nash, of course. I think mostly because of just easy access, being in the local market, being at my age. I really didn't start having much, like I said, much exposure to other NBA teams until I was older. But just another person that comes to mind is Tracy McGrady. The first like essay I ever wrote, if you will, I forget what grade I was in, probably fourth or fifth grade. I rolled up this whole project on Tracy McGrady, and like those, like I mentioned, those Dada Supremes. I think his were Adidas, but in one of the All Star games, he wore one red shoe and one blue shoe. And those were like the T Mac ones or twos or something. I don't even know. You'd probably know better than me, but in any case, I made my mom order me two separate pairs of Dadas, one red, one blue, and I wore those in a game, and got some laughs from the adults in the gym.
Well, they're just hating. They're hating on the
That's what I
style,
was
man.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Put some
Yeah.
respect.
That's cool. So you wrote an essay about Tracy McGrady. I remember in
Yeah.
fifth grade, yeah, I did like a book report on Michael Jordan, and I had to make a whole big ass collage that I actually still
Oh,
have
nice.
in my childhood room at my parents' home. Um, it was just super cool. It's everything was cut out, different layouts, perfect things, and that kind of stuff. I will say, I probably owe my parents a lot of credit to that. They probably did the majority of that
Put in the legwork for
collage,
you.
but I found all the stats and figured all that kind of stuff out. So it was a
Yeah.
team effort. But anyways, enough about me. So what are some of your earliest basketball memories and maybe like favorite times? Um, maybe let's stick around like playing the game, I guess.
Yeah, no. I just thinking about that and talking about those times in NYS. It was funny. I think my very first game, and my mom loves to tell this story because I was playing up. I think it was like a fifth and up or a sixth and up, and I was in fifth grade. Whatever the case was, I was one age or grade level younger, and it was the team my brother had just been playing on with the same coach. So I was coming in with some familiar guys. I'd kind of shot around with them at practice, but I came in this little pipsqueak kid, like super small, and I dropped. I don't even know because I wasn't worried about stats back then at all. But my mom swears I dropped 30 points that game. I was just making every mid-range pull up, dropped a couple threes, had a couple layups, was just killing it. And it was just funny because like I said, people were laughing, underestimating me, and then I felt like it was a good way to make an impression on my new team. Worked
There you
out.
go. Letting it rain, being unconscious, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I try to tell you when we're out there playing, man. You just got to let it
Yeah,
go, you know?
I lost sight of it somehow. Another thing I can say about that time period and early memories of my game, because I think it's worth mentioning. I used to shoot, and I think I probably broke the habit by the time I started playing with you, but I used to shoot with two hands like Sean Marion. Because I was undersized and got into basketball younger, I just had little noodle arms, couldn't put any strength in a one-arm shot. So I got really good at the two-hand and kept that until easily eighth grade, freshman year of high school, which I think is part of the reason why I didn't go out for the team. There's a lot of reasons there, but I eventually got the one hand stroke. Now I shoot like a normal person, but that was another thing where people I think kind of underestimated me because they're like, he can't even shoot. His form is whack. Like, why would I put a hand up on that? But worked out in the end.
Hey, we've seen plenty of guys with crazy releases. I mean, Sean Marion is at the top of that list. Another guy is
Yeah,
Josh Childress, and these were guys who made it to the pinnacle of their profession. So if it goes in, that's all that matters at the end of the day, you know.
that's what I'm saying.
So speaking of Sean Marion and the Phoenix Suns, as a Valley boy and being grown up here, um, have you always been a Suns fan, or did you start as another team, or have you always bled purple and orange?
Yeah. For anyone who's ever doubted, I was born and raised right here in Arizona, always been a Suns fan, never switched up. Mike can attest, even through the Eric Bledsoe days, I was in the rafters screaming my lungs out, losing my voice on a Wednesday night. I live and breathe orange and purple, man. Like, I don't know. There's just something about the Suns, and like I think I was mentioning it when we were talking to Chev when we had him on the Heat Check podcast. But I am pretty much Pittsburgh for most other teams. Really, just the Steelers, because football and basketball are pretty much the only sports I follow pretty closely these days. But there's no basketball team in Pittsburgh, so it worked out that I was allowed to be a Suns fan by my family, and plus my dad's here, and he was a big Suns fan. I mean, he's a moderate sports fan in general, but he was a Suns fan, so I'll give him a little credit. Um, so yeah, always been with the Suns, always gonna ride or die with them, even from the Steve Nashes to the Eric Bledsoes to the Devin Bookers. We will reach lows again in the future, and we gotta tough it out.
Yeah, I mean, I've known you for just a little bit over a decade now, Chris. Pretty much when we first met, it was at the tail end of our Steve Nash glory days. I think we had went to the Western Conference Finals that one last time before he went to LA. And then, we were just sticking it through the mud, I could still hear you plenty of times sitting at those games, just talking mad shit about Eric Bledsoe and him leaving his feet and throwing nonsensical passes. It's like it was yesterday, but so it's nice to finally kind of be on the other side and be contesting for championships again. But so with that being said, what's your all-time favorite memory from the Phoenix Suns?
All-time favorite memory of all the Phoenix Suns teams. That's really hard. I think probably just the ride of them getting to the Western Conference Finals, as disappointing as that was. That era of the Suns team was just incredible. And the way they moved the ball, and you could get behind all the play. You didn't see anything like that. I mean, I knew every player on the team: Jim Jackson, Quentin Richardson, Joe Johnson, Tim Thomas at one point. Like, everyone could shoot threes, it seemed like, and they seem like an unbeatable machine and just unfortunately came short. I'd say another one that's a close second would be going to that finals game last year against the Bucks. We went to game 2. That was just an electric environment. Even back in the Steve Nash days, I don't think I remember the arena ever being that ruckus. So I like the direction they're headed in. I think the best memories are yet to come. Fingers crossed, but those are a couple that stood out that I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, well, another question for you: did you go to any of the 2001 World Series games?
No, I don't think I did.
Okay. Oh, you were super young at that
Did
point
you?
still. No, so when we went
Oh,
to game 1 of the finals last year, that was my first experience to actually be, in a championship, you know, festivity event. Like it was really something to behold. And I've been to plenty of playoff games. I was there during the '04 and '05 runs, '06, '07, all those time frames going to the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, the juice was in the building, and it was definitely a little bit different. It seemed like from back in the days, and not to hold them to a lesser standard, or the fans to a lesser standard. It's just, I think when you're a kid, you don't get to appreciate it as much, because especially you didn't know that we were going to be so bad for almost a decade, and have to wait until we were really finally back in that kind of scenario. But
definitely.
yeah, so, and obviously, this off season has been, I'd say, a lot of fun, even though there's been more rumors than actual signings for the Suns. We did bring back DeAndre Ayton, added some key pieces to the bench, but is there anybody in the league that you're watching nowadays that you really try and keep an eye on, and tune into a game here and there, or watch their stat line and have become a fan of, either than anybody on the Suns?
Ooh, got to put the caveat on it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think a guy that I really have had my eye on for a while and thought has incredible potential is Brandon Ingram. Being drafted by the Lakers into kind of a rough situation, and some turmoil, then getting traded to the Pelicans in that Anthony Davis deal. He's really had flashes, and we saw that in that first round of the playoffs with the Pelicans this year, where he is like I think I joked he's like a Walmart Kevin Durant, but he's still a young guy. And it's been very interesting to watch how he has really added things to his game. He has the length, he has the size, and he even has the shot. So even, man, I hate to say it because they're a Western Conference team and a budding rival of the Suns, but even the whole Pelicans team, man, even aside from Zion, I like them getting CJ McCollum. That's a good move. They were pretty scrappy. Even that Alvarado guy that Cody loves so much, he's as much of a pest he is. You can't knock his hustle. He's a guy that you can count on to chase after loose balls. And I'm sure he might not be the best guy, but he gets his minutes because he's one of those grinders and such a pest on defense. But more so, I'm curious to see what Brandon Ingram does in these next couple of years. Have you seen that picture of him where he's kind of looking like a little scraggly, like he hasn't showered in a couple days? Have you seen that
Yeah,
floating around? Yeah. So people are like, oh, he's been working so hard, he can't even shower. So maybe we'll see him take a leap this year and really reach his full potential.
he's sleeping on the court every night. Yeah, man, that first round series against the Pelicans, even though it made your heart skip a beat plenty of times, that definitely what playoff basketball was all about. And Alvarado is kind of like a Pat Bev to me. You hate him when he's on the other team, but if he was on our team, I'd probably love him to death and be wanting to make sure that he gets the Dan Marley Award every year.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we have to root against him at the moment. But okay, Brandon Ingram right now. What about all-time guy? Who's your all-time favorite NBA professional?
Non Suns NBA professional.
Non-Suns player.
Okay, the caveat. Um, man, if I had to say, and man, this might be a weird one, but I think I'm gonna go with Dirk Nowitzki. again, another rival of the Suns, another guy that is kind of slept on, like Dirk had his big man game, but he could also stretch it. And he carried that Dallas team for so many years, was finally rewarded with a championship during the Jason Terry, all those guys in that era. But the way he kind of to change the game and set the mold for other big guys to come through, like the Joel Embiids and the Nikola Jokic's, Kristaps Porzingis, even as much as he's kind of like broken all the time. That's another fact altogether. He's another guy. He played with Steve Nash, and I obviously didn't know about Steve Nash back then. But if you go back and watch those clips, like they were a pretty nasty duo. So a guy like that, you gotta respect. And I think it took a long time for me to really respect the big man game as a whole, especially being a smaller guy growing up and playing most of a guard role. I didn't understand a lot of the things you big guys do, and to some extent I still don't sometimes. But Dirk, it was a different kind of breed, and he was a four that could play the five, but also could kind of play a three role. So just really respected his game. I kind of wanted to go out of the box and not, because obviously guys like Kobe were incredible to watch. Michael's another easy one. But Dirk's a guy I really got to see a lot. Like I was saying earlier, that exposure. The Suns played him 4 times a year for how many years? I saw a lot of Dirk. I'm sure I've gone to hundreds of games in person, so I've probably seen Dirk live before. Just an incredible player, fun guy to watch, and a good guy off the court too. And you like to see that.
Yeah, Dirk was one of those guys, just like Tim Duncan. Man, did I hate
That's
them.
A good one.
Because they always put it to the Suns, and when it was time for us to get over that hump, those were the guys we really couldn't get over. But when I was a ball boy, those two guys were probably one of the nicest people, not only just athletes, but people that I ever met. So it definitely had admiration towards them. And, hey, keep an eye on or keep Dirk in your mind, because he might be coming up here shortly in the Outlet PG. Got a funny clip for that one today for sure. So we'll dive in that. We'll dive into that later. So here in the Valley, especially this past year, there was a lot of Valley bred success in the college game that ended up coming into the NBA this past season. I want to say it was the most out of any state that were first rounders drafted. And so, Chris, do you follow the college game at all? Are you paying attention?
Admittedly, the past couple years, maybe half a decade, I haven't really been keeping up with the college game. Every time March rolls around, I love to fill out my bracket. That's probably 95% of the college basketball I consume in the year, maybe 99% of the college basketball I consume in the years during those 4 or 5 weeks, whatever it is. But I got love for the college game, man. It's a lot of fun to watch. These guys play a different kind of game, and there's just, like you said, a lot of talent from the state even that's fun to keep an eye on. Not recently, but guys from even my own high school, Casey Benson played for Oregon and Grand Canyon. You see other guys going off and playing college ball, like Marvin Bagley. I didn't know him, but he did go to Corona. Not when I was there, but another guy from the state, like you mentioned. Do you know off the top of your head, Mike, do you know the names of any of those other guys that came out of the state?
Oh my goodness. You put me on the spot.
I know.
Here.
I'm trying to flip it on you, but no, that's all right. But you just love to see that. So there's a lot of intrigue, and especially with Arizona State, again, maybe a teaser here, but in the coming, couple weeks, we're going to have Ben Miller on the Heat Check podcast. And we're going to talk about, Arizona State basketball and football. And he knows a lot about the program, but just my surface level knowledge of it, I've loved kind of the Bobby Hurley era. He can be a bit of a headache sometimes. I know his sideline antics get to be a bit much, but they made a tournament appearance and it came up short, but they had one of the best seasons they've had in school history. Like I think, Remy Martin, can't remember really many of the other guys' names off the top of my head, but I would tune in. And that's probably, again, I think that was a year or two ago, but that's when I was watching, the most college basketball, and got to fill out the bracket. We're going to do a Valley Sports Plug bracket challenge, and gonna have a lot of fun with that. So everyone can come and consume that basketball with me then.
Yeah, my rooting interest is the teams that aren't going to bust my bracket or mess up any of my bets around March. So that's kind of
Amen.
as far as I'm at. But uh, I mean, there's a big difference in the game now, just from college to pros. What's kind of your favorite difference between the two?
My favorite difference is just the amount of like they're tryhards out there, man. These college guys, they try hard. And I'm not trying to diss on the NBA guys. I know they try hard too. It's just a different level, but you see the effort. The defense is much different. The sets are different. The level of hustle is so much different. I mean, that's got to be my favorite thing. I mean, it's so funny too. Maybe not my favorite thing, but hearing their shoes squeak because maybe the gyms aren't as loud, or I don't know. It just seems like the shoes are a lot more squeaky in college basketball than in the NBA basketball, and I always notice that around tournament time. But going back to the real meat and potatoes here, just the college game, you can have these no-name guys. They maybe don't have the scouting report. Maybe they're just an average player, but they get put in the right situation against the right team, and you can have some really amazing performances and just guys really outshine and guys that maybe they would never see the league, but find the right situation in a college game and just go off. So I like the unpredictability, I think, of it too. There is a good fair amount of parity in the NBA these days, but in college basketball, you never know what's going to happen. That Cinderella story is always coming up in the bracket every year.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to add on to that is, a lot of those kids, they're fighting for their futures, right? Whether it be a draft spot for the NBA, the ability to continue to get playing time at their school, or getting enough film on tape to be able to play overseas, and continue their careers. So I could definitely see why, you see those kids trying a little bit harder, because in the NBA, I mean, once you've made it to the pinnacle, some guys get complacent, and we see why their careers, don't span as long as probably their skill could allow them to. But I'm 100% there with you. Uh, for basketball as a whole, as the years have gone on and you've played and you've coached and you've experienced so much, what sticks out to you in regards to the way the game has changed?
Man, it's funny because I was playing with you guys a couple of weeks ago in open runs, and we play with some young guys out there sometimes that are, seniors in high school, recently graduated. So, 17, 18, 19 range. But you really notice these kids, they're a lot more, I don't want to say trigger happy, but they're not shy to pull the trigger. I don't know why I keep using that analogy, but they run up and they'll pull up fast break threes. They'll do step back threes, and I say it's funny because when we were playing the other week, this kid kind of did that where he was on a fast break, pulled up and chucked a three up. I think he missed even. And Mike Howard was coming down, and, and I looked at him and I'm just like, man, the game's changed. And he's like telling me like, and it's just funny because like I would still, if some kid on our team did that and it was, not the right situation, because there are situations, time's going down, whatever, this and that. But I would pull a kid. I would still do that. But when you're out in open runs, you can't get benched during open runs. Like, but even then, I don't know. I didn't see that so much when I was younger. Kids weren't doing that kind of thing. And I think, obviously the pro game ends up reflecting in this setting where you see what the pros are doing. And that's not uncommon now. Even like I was saying, the Suns kind of started to revolutionize that with chucking up a lot of 3-pointers. Steve Nash was even known to pull a running three every once in a while. And now you see the Warriors, Steph Curry is doing that, fast break threes, Trae Young's of the league. It's just not even, nobody blinks an eye. Nobody even thinks about it anymore. So things like that. Like I was saying, Dirk revolutionized the game during his time and my time as a kid, where he was kind of a one-on-one, but now you see a lot of stretch bigs. Like that's kind of the mold. You see these tall guys that can knock down the three, but also get to the hoop in 2 strides. And it's incredible. The amount of athleticism, I think that's been an overall trend in basketball as a whole for, the past, since its inception, since its creation. People like to joke that Bill Russell was playing against, janitors and handyman or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's just the game's pretty young in retrospect, and you gotta understand, as especially as technology advances when it comes to these guys' diet and how they train and treat their bodies. It's a whole nother level. And I don't know, maybe we've seen the peak of that, but I think there's always going to be changes and adaptations that come with the game. So who knows? Maybe a 4-point line will be implemented, and then people will just start chucking up half court shots, and that'll be a normal thing. I hope not, but I got to be the ridiculous one on the podcast.
Yeah, a 4-point line would be the death of the league. 100%.
No 4-point line, yeah,
it would be the death of the league. But I do like how you brought up the part about us playing with a couple of younger kids and their unconscious abilities to throw up things. And it's something that we've struggled with as coaches and had to have conversations with, our high school players. So reminiscing on, your time when you played in high school, how come you didn't play high school ball? I think you wanted to put this on here and kind of address to the people why that might not have been the case.
Yeah, no, I really did. Thank you, Mike. I really did want to speak my piece on this because it's something I've grappled with for a long time. And I think recently I've kind of come to terms with it. And if I could go back, maybe I would have tried harder to be a part of that team and just tough it out. But just to, my logic back then, like I said, I was on the freshman wrestling team because I didn't do basketball. And I was on these rec league teams, these NYS teams, where I was kind of the captain, the better player on the team. But that didn't mean I was the best in my age. I did get approached one time to join a club team, but I don't blame my parents, but I just don't think we had the money to do a traveling team or club team type of thing. And so it was NYS for me, and I was happy with that as a kid. But then it kind of put me behind the 8 ball, I felt. And another factor, the incredible amount of talent my year. I graduated 2012. Freaking, you're talking Kalen Robinson played at ASU, Andrus P in the NFL playing for the Saints. I know it's football, but he's a big guy, always been a big guy. Avery Moss played for the New York Giants. I'm not too sure if he's still in the NFL, but another big guy. He was really good at basketball. There's a whole bunch of other guys. My man, Jesse McCain. I don't know if he's watching this, but Jesse was better than me, and he didn't get much playing time. And it was like, man, that sucks. Like when I know my friends that are better than me, Elijah Hempstead, he was better than me. Great baller, didn't get to see much playing time. And it was like, damn, do I really want to show up and practice, every day to not ever see the court during a game? And on top of that, I think I had a fear of failing. I thought that if I did go out for it, I would embarrass myself and I wouldn't make the team at all. And I think a lot of that, like I said, I had that Sean Marion shot I hadn't quite developed, my one-handed free throw jumper. But then it was funny. I went out, ended up my junior year going out for the team, showing up at tryouts, and I wanted to do in my head, I was like, I would like to play on the JV team, and I would like, because I think I might be able to get playing time there. I'm looking at these guys that are on the JV team, and I think I'm pretty up to snub with them. Well, come to find out, and maybe this wasn't entirely the case, but it's only juniors and seniors played varsity. No juniors played on JV, I'm pretty sure, is how they had it set up. Or I think that might have just been how the tryouts worked, where the juniors and seniors tried out with the varsity, whatever, and then the JV had a separate set of tryouts. Anyway, I am at tryouts. I'm going to try and tough it out anyway. And I end up in a 3-man weave drill with 2 kids that had absolutely no business being in this tryout. And I'm talking like absolutely no business. Like they couldn't quite drill. They should have been on our YMCA team, Mike. I'm telling you, this is how bad they were. And I don't think one of them, even knew what a 3-man weave drill was. So here I am. I've played basketball for 5-6 years now at this point, or whatever. And anyway, ultimately we're going down. I have to go chase, jump, reach for a ball that's flying out of bounds to try and impress Sammy Dwayne, show him my hustle. And I come down on my knee, and it kind of like does one of these deals, and super bad strain on the inside of my knee. I forget what muscle that is, the MCL or whatever, but it hobbled me. I couldn't run. I couldn't jog. I could barely walk for about 3-4 days. And I didn't end up being able to finish tryouts. And so I'll never know if I would have been able to ride the bench or maybe play some JV ball, but I was thinking about it today in kind of preparation for this. I think if I could go back and tell myself a word of advice, it would be to not compare myself to all those other players like Kalen Robinson, Andres Pete, because I'm not them. I should only compare myself to who I was yesterday. And I think that's good life advice and good ball advice, because when you don't see the shots go in and you're clanking them, it's frustrating. And when you're throwing passes out of bounds, or you're getting picked, or you're playing against kids that are more athletic and more further along in their progression, it can be really discouraging. But just if I could have just not compared myself to them, kept my head down and keep working, I would have been very interesting. I'm still curious to wonder where I might have gone, but can't change the past, only the future. So I'm taking that advice now. And I love playing ball with you guys, going out in these adult leagues Sunday. And here I am. So I like it. That's my piece. That's my piece on why I didn't play high school ball.
Great life advice from Chris Patrick. Make sure y'all pass it along to your kids. And Chris, you bring up a whole lot of great points that, as we've become coaches, we try to portray onto those kids, the acceptance of failure, not being afraid to put yourself out there and try your best and put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Really, if it's something that you want, you have to put your time and effort into it. On your own, and at the end of the day, make sure it's still something that you love and want to pursue, because high school and whatever comes with it is always just a short window, and you have your whole life ahead of you to still really enjoy the game and still play at a high level, which I know we do nowadays still. So I could probably attest, some of those kids who are on those teams with you and maybe went to play college, I bet you a good handful of them aren't still playing today, because they might be a little bit worn out from it, from all of the years and sacrifice and effort that they had to put into it. So I wouldn't change anything that I did, and I'm glad that you've made your peace with it. But with that being said, we now have to transition into the coaching side, because it was a big part of our lives for a couple of years, especially after I started at the YMCA. So do you want to take us down the memory lane about when you started coaching?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think we might have touched on it a bit in episode 1, but man, I just got to say, first and foremost, the coaching these kids was equal parts rewarding and frustrating. And I felt the range of emotions throughout my time as a coach, but I loved it, man. I remember it was really early on in meeting you and becoming friends. We were outside chopping it up about basketball, and one of us mentioned, like, yeah, I thought about coaching a youth team. I'd like to do that one day. And it was kind of something we made in passing. And I think a couple weeks later, you were like, yo, are you really down to coach? And it was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we kind of both locked that in the back of our minds. And then I think it was maybe 2-3 years later. I can't even remember the timeline. It's been so long, but we finally had an opportunity. You were, like you said, you were the sports director at the YMCA. You said, Chris, I got this team. They need us to coach it. Are you down? And I showed up, and boy, what did we walk into? It was, like we said on episode 1, man, it was the free agents of the league. It was the kids who didn't have their squad. They were rolling up to the My Park mode, trying to stand on the side of the court, and nobody would pair up with them. So they ended up on Chris and Mike's team. Blaze? Was it just Blaze?
Blaze, yep.
Just Blaze. And man, that was a great group of kids. I mean, Bryce and Brooke, man, they stuck with us from the beginning to the end. And I love coaching. I'd love to do it again someday. I definitely plan. I mean, shit, I'm wearing the Junior Suns shirt right now. I rode the roller coaster, bought the t-shirt, or was gifted the t-shirt. Some of my best memories there were going downtown. I'm jumping ahead, but just going downtown with those kids, man, and just reliving those memories. I remember just talking about me one real quick, because I love talking about myself. When I was playing YMCA basketball, I think it was 7th grade or 8th grade. No, 8th grade. It was 8th grade going into freshman year. We did a YMCA team, and I got elected to do the 3-point contest at the All-Star game. They put on like a little All-Star game. They had these rubber balls, like these $5 basketballs you get from Walmart. I'm like, we're in the Suns arena. I know they have at least 150 basketballs somewhere in this building, but it was racks and racks and racks of these rubber balls. And if anyone's ever picked one of those up and shot with it, they feel like they're about 15 pounds heavier than a normal basketball. It's like shooting a damn medicine ball. Anyway, I digress. I would love to be in a part of that with these kids because did they take away the skills challenge and that part of it?
They did. They
Yeah.
did. And I think it was more so a conflict with the Suns and the ability to actually get the day, like an extra day to do that kind of stuff. Because when I was there, we tried to kind of revamp it, but we had to use our own facilities. So I had a couple of my own like skills challenges at the end of the year where we set up like a maze, you know, where you got to dribble through cones, pass through the hoop, make a layup, come down, shoot a three. We had the 3-point contest. And I think we had one other thing. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, I mean, that was the same. When I was a kid with the Suns, we had a full-blown all-star game. We had all that stuff. We had the skills challenge, the 3-point contest, and an all-star game. And we played them all at the Suns Arena. So hopefully they'll get back there one day. That'll be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think they could do it. I mean, it might be a little bit more difficult now because when I did it, they still had the underground practice court. And so I think they did some of the skills stuff down there, and then they were running the all-star games up on the main court. But yeah, I hope they bring it back. But going down there with those kids and just kind of, you know, reliving that with them, and in the coach's perspective, there's nothing like playing on that court, and kids don't realize just how much bigger it is and like how much further that 3-point line is. And it was funny. They if you've ever been on the court, you know, good NBA court is good distance. And the refs would tell them like, hey, you can take a step in and we'll still call it a 3 for you. You don't got to take NBA range threes. Did they listen? Of course they didn't. And I think it's probably a mental thing. You know, you just see a 3-point line. You're like, oh, that's where I'm going. And so everything was just coming up like a foot short of the rim. Just absolutely hysterical. But so those championship games ended up not being some of the best games, but some of the best times anyway, where we got to win a couple. We won a couple championships, right?
Yeah, I think we won 2 of them.
2 of them. We made several more appearances, but
yeah. Unfortunately, we're at the like LeBron James win-loss record. We got more losses than we do wins, but hey, at least we get down there, and that's what matters.
Yep.
But so, you know, making an impact, spreading your knowledge to the young kids, it's great. It's wonderful. Somebody's got to do it, and I'm happy that it's you, Chris. But it doesn't stop us from still playing ball as much as we can. And we're consistently out there every weekend getting runs in. Try and do a couple of days when the gyms open up, especially since I still work at the Tempe Y. And our youth sports pretty much takes over entire Saturdays. So we try to get those runs in a little bit more when the seasons aren't going. But how has your game changed over the years, the way that you play?
Yeah, it's changed so much, honestly. And I'm sure you've even seen that. It was weird. I guess maybe start kind of where I'm going to bounce over the timeline. I felt like I took a couple years off there in like between 2019 and 2021 or so. Just didn't got caught up in the day-to-day grind. I was coaching, so got some shots up here and there, but didn't really get to go do runs or like pick up, and was a couple years where I was out of it. And so I think something changed during that time period. I mean, before, when I first met Mike, like I said, I was slinging behind the back passes like a madman. I was, chucking up threes, driving to the basket, being quite a bit more aggressive. And now my game right now, I still take those threes when they're open, but I defer a lot. I pass a lot. Going way back though, like I mentioned, I had that Sean Marion shot that I had to shake. Once I broke out of that, man, it was a game changer. And even my one-handed shot is still developing. There's so many little things you can do to tweak just your shot, from your finger position to your release point, how you set your feet, the way your hips are pointing. And you can watch videos, you can get all sorts of different advice. And like you said, we've seen a lot of crazy shots. There's no like one textbook way. I mean, there is the one textbook way they say you shoot, but like there's no, different things work for different people. So I think I've tweaked that a lot. Just really trying to focus on my strengths as a player. And, I think I play some pretty decent defense. So I kind of try and be, I think I was telling you a couple weeks ago, you got the 3-and-D, the stretch four, the hardcore defender, all these player types that you see. And I think I'm more of like a defense and dime type of guy, like a D and dime. So on the defensive side, I'll two-way player, I'll do that. And then on the other side, I'll set you up with a good pass in the middle.
D and dime. Dude, we got to make t-shirts of that. I bet you those would be hotcakes. Could sell
Shit,
the
you're right.
shit out of those. But okay, so with that being said, would you say that's the way that you try to assert yourself the most when you play?
Yeah, I think so. That's probably how I make an impact now. I know you and Reggie are on me to be more assertive overall. I think I'm trying to get back to that. Like I said, I used to drive to the basket more, and I think maybe you stuffed me one too many times in the recent history, or something got my confidence down. But also I'd say I think this is these Sunday runs is probably some of the best competition I've had as an adult. I mean, it was all fun and games when we were going out to Intel, but let's be honest, not all of those guys were ballers. But it was fun. It was good exercise. Never change it for the world. But a lot of good talent. So I think I kind of shrink when there's more talented players around, and so it's really, I think I'm going to try and build my confidence up. But to answer your question, yeah, I try and stick to my strengths and make my imprint and be assertive that way, where I make good passes, I play hard defense, and try and help out the team in ways that I can that aren't detrimental. Because if I'm chucking up shots and missing them, or getting blocked on some crazy Eric Bledsoe drive in the lane, that's not helping anybody.
Yeah, but I'm 6'7", and I can't tell you how many times I've been blocked. It's been a hell of a lot. I feel like I was blocked the other week too, but it doesn't stop me, man. It's just about, maybe you just need to take some of those advice from some of those high school kids and just go unconscious one week and see how it feels. But
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, that's my favorite part about a team, right? The really great players to play with are the ones who will play within their role, and when asked upon, do a little bit more. And Chris, you've always been that kind of player every time that I've played with you, so it's always a pleasure.
Oh, thank you, sir.
So with that being said, when you're getting ready to step on the court, do you have like a game day routine or anything like that? Are you doing any pre-workout? Are you eating any protein bars? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm like a routine guy for some reason. I don't know what it is, but it's funny because it depends on the setting and the type of ball I'm going to play. When I was younger, these rec league games were on Saturday mornings, Saturday afternoons. So I would, couple hours before the game, I'd take a nice hot shower. I'd do some stretches in the shower, do some stretches out of the shower, show up nice and early, get some shots up, do my layup line, have my shoes tied nice and tight. And that was my go-to routine all through my rec league days. And then now, when I'm doing our adult leagues in the evening time, I just started that this season. Actually, I have a cup of coffee, kind of get my energy levels up a little bit, and then I drive out to the gym. Again, I always forget to stretch until I see you start stretching, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably limber up a little bit. I'm about to run for 40 minutes, and so it's kind of minimized. My routine's kind of shrunk a little bit, I think, depending on how much time I have. But on the Sunday runs, my routine is wake up, get dressed, drive 45 minutes to the YMCA, and then I do go to, I'm lying, I stop at QT and I get a Zions and a slice of breakfast pizza or a egg and cheese biscuit, get something in the tummy. So yeah, big routine guy.
A little bit.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Well, Chris, I've had a hell of a time learning a little bit more about your past in basketball and your now and your future. But I got one more question for you. As everybody can see behind me, I like shoes. I'm a big shoe guy. Some might call me a sneakerhead. But admittedly, I might have started to get your toes dipping in the waters a little bit more. So you got to tell the people, what are you hooping in nowadays, and what's your favorite hoop shoe that you ever played in?
Yeah, man, you are definitely having a heavy influence on me and have me looking on the Nike and Adidas app every week. about to order another pair of shoes, but right now I'm playing in the Kyrie 8s. I was actually just thinking next time I go out, I might throw on the 7s again. I've kind of gone back and forth on this because like at first when I got the 8s, I was like, there's no way these are going to be better than the 7s. I love the 7s. They're like the best basketball shoe I've ever played in. And just the look, it's like a much different look. But the 8s are super comfortable. They fit me really well. I play pretty decent in them, but I think the 7s are still probably my favorite. I have had a ton of different shoes over the years. I was probably more of a sneakerhead when I was younger, ripping up that East Bay catalog, having my mom order all these $40 Dadas. I don't know if that makes me a sneakerhead or not, but yeah, man, I like the shoes too, but I don't know if I'm gonna quite build up my collection like you.
Well, it definitely took time, and it took my bank account growing up before I could ever really get to the position that I'm at now too. So maybe it's a bad thing. But yeah, man, those 7s, they're just so sleek, and I like how transitional they are for any kind of player. I'm a bigger guy, and the 7s are one of the best shoes that I've ever played in. Um, we're going to have a podcast. We're going to have a Pass the Outlet where we're going to do a deep dive just on shoes. So I'll make sure that you have plenty of prep time, Chris, so you can do your research, and I'll have some Q&A set up for you. So make sure you do your
Perfect.
homework, unlike Kyler Murray.
Yo, do. Got to get the soundboard too.
Well, so this is a perfect time to say once again, this is Pass the Outlet, episode 2. We're taking a deep dive into everything basketball today. We took a little bit of a dive into Christopher Patrick and his basketball journey. As we continue this journey of Pass the Outlet, I'm sure we'll have more stories to tell. So make sure you stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AZ_VSP. Follow us on Facebook at Valley Sports Plug. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube and Valley Sports Plug. We appreciate you all very much. But Chris, are you ready to move on to our next segment?
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Let's get into some of these segments that we got. We got what am I trying to say here? I think I was just thinking of this. I think it's worth mentioning, if you guys haven't noticed yet, our little duck guy is gone. He's not in the corner anymore. We have upgraded, and I even think the video quality might be a little better. I might just be tripping, but these are the things we're doing. We're investing in Valley Sports Plug. We hope you invest in us, and we're not even asking for any money right now. You guys just watch our videos, join in the conversation. If you don't know where to find us, you're not really trying, because you just got to go onto Google, type in Valley Sports Plug, and the whole first page is pretty much all us. But if you are here, if you're 53 minutes in on the playback, I thank you so much. And I know that you're a true fan and a real one. And I thank you so much. And I can't say that enough. But Mike, let's get into this. What do you got first for us?
Yeah, so this next segment is the Outlet Point Guard. This is a segment where we want to bring in either one clip or a set of clips from the past or present, from any level, NBA, college, high school, and really take a look and try and dissect kind of what we're seeing on the floor. And this is where we want you guys to join in and leave your comments about what you see, what you might think we don't see, or if our takes are a little bit outlandish. That's, what being a basketball fan is all about. Everybody sees the game a little bit differently. But I'm going to bring this up here. This clip that we're going to do today is the 2005 Western Conference semifinals, the Suns versus the Dallas Mavericks, Game 6. This game was May 20th, 2005. This was actually the first season that I was a ball boy for the Phoenix Suns. So a lot of these guys on the screen that I see are very familiar faces to me. Obviously, we wanted to get Steve Nash on here because he's probably one of Chris's all-time favorite guys. We had fan favorites like Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Quentin Richardson was on this team, even though it was very short-lived for one season. Joe Johnson was on this team. You're not going to see him in this clip because this is when he had broken his or he had fractured his orbital bone, so he was out during this series. And then we have some other guys like Jim Jackson, Stephen Hunter, who actually has a pretty big, foot in the youth sports culture here in Arizona nowadays.
Really?
He's a guy who's holding a lot of camps and giving back to the youth. And it's not like you can miss him. He's a 7'1" guy. He's huge. And then other guys like Chris was saying, Jim Jackson. So I guess let's not get copywritten, Chris. So I'm not gonna play this the volume, even though I'd love to hear it. But just feel free. Let's run it through once, and then we can start breaking it down a little bit.
Perfect.
So 26 seconds left in the game. The Suns are down by 3. There's a lot of decisions to make here if you're the Suns to either win the game or push this to overtime. So here we go.
I think conventional wisdom here says go for 2.
Right. And watch, I feel like they saw that the switch had come over, so Nowitzki was on Nash right away there, who I said make sure you kept in mind because he was going to be coming up again, and here he is. So Steve Nash makes the 2, and then, of course, you foul, right? You put him at the free throw line, see if they're going to miss one. Stackhouse makes both of them. And here comes Nash just with a bunch of downhill speed and not even a thought to let it fly. You could see one of the things I saw there in the corner was Jason Terry looking like he was trying to call a timeout. But I don't know if the refs weren't paying attention or what was going on. But, that 3 pushed him to overtime. And the Suns ended up winning this game and winning the series because they won that series 4-2 and then ended up going to the Western Conference Finals against the San Antonio Spurs. But one of my favorite things about this play is how pissed off Dirk Nowitzki is here. You could see him. It almost looks like he swung that towel at Jason Terry, being like, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah, you could see he was pissed at Jason Terry. Sorry, go ahead.
But so let's bring it back to the top here. So right away, and Chris, you already said it. You got 26 seconds left. You're down by 3. Conventional wisdom is going to tell you to go for 2 here, because you want to play the free throw line game. You want to put them on the free throw line, see if they might be able to miss one. So then you can have another situation if you want to drive to the basket, maybe get fouled, tie the game, and then they're going to have not that much time left to try and take a game winner. So when Nash comes down here, you see the high screen set by Sean Marion right away. And the communication between Jason Terry and Dirk Nowitzki is switch. It's so high. The screen is, almost getting to half court. Switch right away, because at this point, Nash ended up having 39 points in this game. And that went to overtime, and the Suns kind of pushed away and brought in the lead in the last 2.5 minutes of this game, where it really wasn't a contest anymore.
And I think it's important to also mention here, Sean Marion setting that high screen. Look at all the other Suns players on the court. Look at how spread out the floor is. I didn't see a lot of teams doing 5 out on offense like this. So it really opens up the floor, and he ends up, when they do that switch, he puts Dirk on an island.
Exactly. And this was kind of the culture shift that we were seeing in basketball at that time frame, 04-05, with the 7 seconds or less Suns. They were starting to really spread the floor and put everybody out on the 3-point line. And they would let Nash kind of attack and create as best as he could. He'd get Amari Stoudemire and plenty of pick and rolls, let him get down low, attack the ball down, and go to work. Or Amari really developed that 12 to 15-foot jumper to a absolute, almost all-time status, I feel like, at one point. He was so dirty with it from mid-range. It was what we hoped DeAndre Ayton to get to, but that's besides the point. And here in the corners here, you two at the top corner right here, this is Quentin Richardson. We said Joe Johnson was in this game because he had the orbital fracture. This is Walter McCarty, a blast from the past for me, who I had to kind of remember, how did he end up on the team? And I think, I might be wrong, but I think that he was involved in the Joe Johnson trade that brought Joe Johnson here to from Boston to Phoenix, and he was another piece that was included in it. And the guy that you can't see in the corner here, you think it's Amari Stoudemire. It's not. It actually was Stephen Hunter on the floor. This is definitely a game that I'd love to go back and watch entirely just to see like the full breakdown of this.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and push it forward a little bit more. So after this high screen, obviously Dirk steps out. Steve Nash's first thought is he sees Jason Terry trailing a little bit behind Dirk here. So he thinks if he could swing the ball quick, he might be able to get Sean Marion moving downhill for like an easy floater, which Sean Marion was definitely known for those days. But as soon as he makes that pass, Sean Marion doesn't even hesitate to give the ball right back to him. And I'm thinking at this point, that's because Steve Nash was probably on a heater. He had it going all night long. And he has the mismatch, right? What you want here is you want a 2. So I'd rather have my point guard, who has been known to be shifty and be able to create and get downhill and get to the glass with ease, go up against the 7-footer Dirk Nowitzki. Because if anything, he can get him on his back hip and maybe draw a foul and get an and one, and you could tie the game right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and whether this is a set play or not, it just goes to show you how smart NBA players are when you break it down like this second by second. They're making these in split-second decisions. We're 3 seconds into this clip, I'm pretty sure. Didn't we start with 24 seconds or 26 seconds? So we're 3 to 5 seconds in.
5 seconds in.
And so far, we've seen them bring the ball past half court, set a high screen, swing the ball to the top, and now the ball's back in Steve Nash's hands. For Sean Marion to set that high screen, understand the situation, understand the amount of time left, there's no time to waste. He can't go into his three-point stance and take a few jab steps. Like you said, he gives it right back to Steve Nash here, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and this next part is probably my favorite part of the clip, because we see guys like Trae Young start to do this, and even our Valley guy, Devin Booker, which is the blow by and then slow play and catch into the body. Like if you saw right there, Steve Nash had Dirk beat, but he slowed down just in the last second to see if he might be able to get a foul call created there to get an and one. Now, we definitely see Devin Booker slow it down way, way longer, and the guy's on his hip, and he's dribbling way out in front of him, and then he kind of gives him a little bit more of a bump into his sidestep and shot. But those are the kind of things that you learn from greats like Steve Nash, right? How to position your body, how to have that defender go onto your hip and possibly create an opportunity to get another point for your team.
And just the perfect execution of driving left, switching to that right, and finishing on the right side.
Exactly. I mean, a guy, Steve Nash, is 6'3" on his best day, which isn't short, but in the NBA game, he was 6'1". Like when I was on the court with him, he was 6'1". He was not 6'3".
Yeah.
So he's an undersized individual, but he was so crafty with the ability to drive through the lane and understand the spacing that he had to get his shots off, almost like we see with Kyrie Irving and his, ability to get to the basket and put up some of the craziest off-balance shots that I honestly have ever seen. But as a Suns fan, we got to see some of it when we were younger. So
true.
So Steve Nash, he drives when they get this finish. And obviously at this point, you got to foul, right? You're going to foul as much as you can, which is kind of crazy to me. I think this was Quentin Richardson. Or no, that might have been Stephen Hunter right there. And I don't understand why he didn't high point to the ball and because there was nobody behind him.
Yeah, that was my first thought, is how he got so much time off the clock.
You obviously know that you have to foul, so let Steve Nash go with Jason Terry, and you got to get over here, and you let him get to half court, which takes about 2 minutes off the clock that you can see there.
Yeah.
So those are the little things as a coach when you start to dissect film. It really grinds your gears because that's just those little things. Those last seconds matter, especially when you get down to one possession games. The team that is smarter and understands the situation the best is normally going to win the game. And thankfully, that didn't really matter. 2 seconds didn't matter in this case. And I know Stephen Hunter is a bigger guy, but instead of pointing at the guy, go ahead and hustle after him.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Put some pep in the step.
Yeah. But so Jerry Stackhouse gets fouled. I'll say Jerry Stackhouse, man, I really liked him when he was with the Detroit Pistons. He was one of those guys I think that came around right on the tail end of Grant Hill before he kind of had his injuries and went to Orlando. But Jerry Stackhouse, man, he was a killer. I hated him with Dallas and those teams. Josh Howard was another guy.
Michael Finley.
God, yeah, I hated those guys so much. I mean, it was always competitive. It was always fun, but we lost plenty of times to them, and so I'll always kind of hold a grudge in regards to that.
Mm-hmm.
But so then we have Jerry Stackhouse. He makes it. Your first thought, you got 11 seconds. If you go downhill, what are you thinking, Chris? What's your thought process here?
Oof, going down still with 11.5. It's tough, right? Because especially after what you just saw happen, I think there could still be time to get a 2, but I would look for the open 3, maybe a guy in the corner, maybe a pick and pop type thing. But the pull-up is probably the last thing I was expecting, especially with Jason Terry kind of right on his hip. But the way we'll see Steve Nash stop on a dime and even still have his momentum carrying forward to have enough control in his shot to make that type of stuff was, I swear, it was unseen at that point in time. Like, again, it was situational. Steve Nash wasn't just doing that on a whim, but man, that was a clutch play, a guy with supreme confidence, and we're going to see it. But yeah, I would have thought kick to the corner, get a screen, something. But the pull-up is the last thing I would have expected.
Right. And I mean, you bring up such a great point here, because after this first free throw, Dallas is all heading back, right? They're not even thinking about putting any pressure on the ball because they want to be back to contest anything that happens. So normally in this case, if I'm Sean Marion and I see everybody heading back, if I am going for 2, I'm waiting for them to go just a little bit further, let Nash curl here and basically get him to pass at like 3/4 court. So he's passing half court in less than half a second. So you can get downhill and maybe get a 2 and have 7 seconds left. And then you can do the foul game again and then shoot a 3. But the way that Nash comes a little bit closer to the pass almost makes me think that this was planned to give him as much space to get that downhill movement going towards Jason Terry. I mean, the whole problem with Jason Terry, I don't know why he's at half court trying to back up from here.
Yeah.
We could pick him up, hustle back, be here, and then fall back within it, because Steve Nash has all the momentum going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if he's coming with full steam ahead, you're not going to be able to transition your hips fast enough and get to where you need to.
Yeah, no, you bring up an absolutely great point, and I didn't even kind of really pick up on that, but yeah, he does shave a couple seconds off by hanging in the backcourt and receiving the ball at the opposite free throw line. And to get that space, you're right. Once he does that, and Steve Nash kind of looks like he's rolling downhill, he gets Jason Terry on his heels, and he wasn't ready for what was going to happen. I mean, I think maybe it was possible with the clock winding down in that situation, down by 3. Maybe Jason Terry thought he could have pulled it from, almost half court or just inside half court. But it doesn't really seem like he had any reason to believe that, the way he gets him on his heels and ends up, giving him that tiny bit of space that he needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he just has all that momentum going. And you saw that quick hesitation right there really pulled Jason Terry back to it's tough, because it's like, well, he's not going to pull up back from back there. I mean, this is before the Stephen Curry days when guys are taking one step across half court and letting it fly. But just that little quick hesitation pulled him off of Nash just enough to give him space. And then you see him fall over because Nash still had all that momentum going forward, and then he stopped on a dime, like you said, and was able to get right into his shot and finish it
Yeah.
off.
And right as that's happening, like you said, that move Steve Nash makes, Jason Terry, he was opened up to him, but he turns his hips towards the basket, expecting Steve Nash to ride on his hip towards the basket. Because I'd imagine he was thinking the same thing as me. Steve is going to drive, penetrate, and kick for a three to one of his guys. And instead, he made it look like that, and then boom. And that control, man, that is just impressive.
Those are some of my favorite shots too, like the way that it goes in, where it's not a complete swish, but it just hits off the iron and it's like that kadunk. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yeah.
Like pop, pop right into the basket. Those are some of my favorite ones. And then obviously the Mavericks have 5.7 seconds. I don't know if they didn't have a timeout. You see Jason Terry try and kind of go for a timeout. And I mean, that's a good look from Jerry Stackhouse. Like, I ain't going to be mad at it. It's the same way that Jimmy Butler had his shot this past year against the Celtics in game 7.
It's almost the exact same shot Steve Nash just took on the other side of the court. If you look at
Right.
it,
He gets Jim
takes that
Jackson
cut,
falling on his
pulls up.
hip.
Except
But
Jim Jackson plays much better defense.
yeah, he's not falling over. And it looks like Nash kind of hedges just a little bit ahead of him, which, can change your shot in the slightest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any thought of a defender kind of coming low at you and putting pressure on you, some guys might get worrisome about, them coming into your legs or change your mechanics just a hitch. And that's all that matters. I mean, the same way that football is a game about inches, sometimes basketball is too, and which is, so awesome to me. But then this is my favorite thing. Steve Nash got him in their feelings. Dirk Nowitzki is over there blaming Jason Terry for falling over, even though he could have stepped over and helped out. I would have much rather had Sean Marion take that three if I'm the Mavericks and putting blame on other guys and having your team fall apart. And the Suns ended up winning that game for a reason.
Yep. And that's another thing you said. It's a game of inches. We saw that with Kevin Durant against the Bucks in 2021. His toe was just barely over the line. And not only is it a game of inches, but it's also a mental game. You got to keep your composure. And once you get your shell rattled, once someone gets inside your head, it can change your game. And I can't imagine playing at the highest level in front of thousands of screaming fans, how those, emotions could easily get intensified. But yeah, man, that play is incredible. And I think really you can see where, the game really changed from the 7 seconds or less Suns. And I know the easiest, comparison is to, look at the Warriors and what they've accomplished in the last 5-10 years. And it makes sense because Steve Kerr, I believe, was the GM during that time period of 7 seconds or less Suns or shortly thereafter. And so he got to be real in that culture and a part of that process and brought that play style over to the Warriors, as far as I can tell. Much better coach than GM, though. I'll say that much.
Ain't that the damn truth? Well, you know what? That was awesome, man. I'm glad we figured that out. On the first Pass the Outlet, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we were able to do a little bit of brainstorming and add that into the stream so it won't be as choppy, and everybody who's watching and following along with us, dissecting that play, can see what we're seeing in real time. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. 2004 clips, 2005 clips, starting to go back. The quality isn't going to be that great anymore on playbacks. But, once we start pulling up some Devin Booker highlights, it'll be clean and crispy. I promise you that.
Oh, yeah. And especially once the season starts rolling, we're going to have DeAndre Ayton to criticize. We're going to have Devin Booker to criticize. I'm going to have a whole lot of plays to break down, but it's not all going to be bad. We're going to show good clips too, stuff they're doing well, because we want to highlight the highs as well.
I was about to say, Chris, we're not supposed to be criticizing the whole time. My goodness.
Not the whole time, just a little bit.
Well, that was the Outlet point guard if you're ready, Chris, I'm ready to roll into our next segment, Reddit Reacts.
Yeah, man. Do you want me to
So
pull it up?
I got it. What are you thinking? Do we want to just hop on the Suns? Do you want to go NBA, basketball? What's your thoughts?
I like that idea because the Suns fans and the Suns Reddit, you guys are crazy. But the Reddit in general is crazy, and the NBA Reddit is even more crazy. So I think we should take a look at that, see what's going on, maybe what's hot, what's been on the top of people's minds. See how bad these takes are, what the rumors are. I think that's one of the most fun things this time of year is seeing other fan bases and what they think about moves their team might be making, especially around the time with Kevin Durant. A lot of us thought it was a surefire thing that KD was coming here. There's a thing on Suns Reddit where they're counting down the days till we get Kevin Durant. There's a guy over there that's making a meme every day until the Suns get Kevin Durant, and that man might be making memes for the rest of his life. Shout out to him. We'll see how long he sticks with it, but that's the type of stuff I'm talking about. That's Reddit for you.
Oh yeah. So I mean, right off the bat here, we got Stephen A. Smith saying that if the American people wanted me to run for presidency of the United States of America, I would strongly consider it. And damn it, I mean it. Chris, do you want Stephen A. Smith to be the leader of the free country?
Man, I'm sick of celebrities being politicians. I'm sick of politicians being celebrities. Just run the damn country. So no, I don't want Stephen A. to be the president. He'd be too aggressive on my television screen giving the State of the Union address. Might be a little unnerving, his delivery. I like him on First Take. I like him doing his commentary when he pops up. I think he does some boxing stuff and some other sports, NBA countdown. But no, Stephen A. I don't want to see the presidential debate be The Rock, Kanye West, Stephen A. Smith. No, not going to happen.
That's what I was gonna say. Same for The Rock. Like, just keep making your movies, dude. I'm all about them.
Right.
I'll go see them. Do another Jungle Cruise. I'll go watch that.
Mm-hmm.
We had Jeannie Buss coming out and saying that Russell Westbrook was the Lakers' best player last year. Chris, how do you feel about that?
When you earn the nickname West Brick because you are shooting so terribly, and maybe she's saying that because he probably played the most games out of any of their superstars, with Anthony Mr. Glass Davis being beat up and benched the whole year, with LeBron missing his time and having his rest days. Maybe she just liked him because he was always walking into the arena playing in games, and she actually didn't watch the game, because if she did, she would have saw that Westbrook had the worst season of his entire career. Shit. I mean, Mike, that almost sounds like she's trying to hype him up so she can ship him out and sell him off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I wonder if they're playing the long game. So eventually, if they can get Kyrie over there, they'll be able to have some trade partners for him. I mean, We'll see with the Lakers, man. Bringing in Patrick Beverley, it's a conversation that we've had before. How many really, really explosive, high caliber personalities can you have in one room for one coach to really, button down the hatches and keep everybody focused on what's going on correctly? I mean, I feel like in game 5 of like last year or the year before, the Lakers were fighting each other on the bench. Like, the season had just started. I just hope for LeBron James' sake he gets himself out of town and finds another team to kind of have his last hurrah with, because him running the show and bringing in all of his friends and buddies, it's just not working, man, especially for a guy going into the twilight. Like you said, Anthony Davis, made of glass. I'm sure that you've heard of the rumors about him and possibly trading DeAndre Ayton and Cam Johnson straight up for Anthony Davis. I wouldn't do that ever. Are you kidding me? A guy who can't ever be on the floor and is on the wrong side of. Is he 30? He's been in the league for a very long time. I know he came. He was a one and done guy, and he came in, when he was probably 19 years old. But I like Anthony Davis. But it's the same thing with like Kawhi Leonard. Like if you haven't been able to play consistently for the past 3 years, why do I want you as a focal point for my team? Like I can't do it. I can't do it.
No. And
So
Anthony Davis is 29. He'll be 30 in March. So already having
okay.
that
So
much
he's on
injury
the
at 30.
wrong side of 20.
Yeah. You could say that for sure. But is Anthony Davis going to be one of these guys that plays until he's 35, 36 years old? And if he does, is he going to end up almost on a similar path to Derrick Rose, where you go from an MVP caliber player to a role player? And does he accept that role? What do you think?
I don't know how you can have a guy make that much money and put them into a role position. I think if Anthony Davis wants to be a guy who plays until he's like 37, 38 years old, yeah, he's going to have to, pull a LaMarcus Aldridge, who was one of the best, if not the best power forwards in the NBA. And then over the past 5 years, you've seen, going back to his time with San Antonio, he had a couple of last good, solid all-star caliber years. And then he tailed off and just kind of started to fit within his role as best as he could, with the Nets and whatnot. So I hope for his sake and for the longevity of his career, he can get there. But that also, this is what kind of person are you? What kind of teammate are you? And is Anthony Davis that kind of guy? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. What else does Reddit have? What else is in NBA?
So Reddit, they had Husky Falcon had 538 player projections with the highest 5-year market values. Number one, they have Nikola Jokic. Obviously, he just signed his huge Supermax deal with his MVPs that he's won. And then you got some young guns on here. You got Luka Doncic, who's already signed, his first kind of big Supermax extension after being drafted. And then LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball. I like him. Huh? He's a talented young guy. He's a flashy guy. He's the new era, right? He is definitely the new era of players in the NBA. And he is making a name for himself with his signature shoe deal with Puma. My goodness, do the kids love it. And all the crazy colors, the Rick and Morty special ones that came out, where it was going back to what you were talking about, Chris, it was 1 foot green, 1 foot was red. It's all the rage.
I waited in line for those. Didn't get them.
And, I thought they were building something pretty decent in Charlotte, and they have a really, really young core. But now with everything that's going on with Miles Bridges, he was a guy who was really excelling and looking to take the next step. And, I mean, is he going to play in the league again with his incidents that he's had with the domestic violence and all that stuff?
That's gonna be interesting to see. Can you click into that? Are there any other players on that list after Giannis? I think it's no surprise that a lot of the top names on there are these international guys. Of course, Jokic is going to have broad appeal overseas. Luka Doncic back at home. So yeah, Devin Booker not even on this list. So they don't estimate his market value at more than 200 million, which honestly seems laughable to me.
How is that even possible with the contract that he just freaking signed?
Literally being a pillar in the franchise for all of Arizona, and you've even seen him having a more broad appeal. I know he has his Mexican heritage, and in Mexico, with the close proximity to Arizona, there's a lot of basketball fans that are Booker fans. So whoever put this together, what they're basing this off of, where they're getting these numbers. I mean, Jokic plays in Denver, Doncic in Dallas. Those are big cities. LaMelo Ball, obviously he got a shoe deal. He's the Gen Z superstar. Joel Embiid, Cameroon, he has another more international appeal. Giannis, of course, all throughout Europe. John Morant's exciting. Scotty Barnes, though, how is Scotty Barnes on that list? But Devin Booker's dumb. Maybe that's a typo. Maybe they meant to type Devin Booker and it came out Scotty Barnes.
Well, yeah, I just wrote Devin Booker's, so
we'll see.
They might have messed up just a little bit.
What's the top comment on this? That's where you find the real juice and the sauce in the.
In the
For
dressing.
the in the dressing. For the price of a Jokic, you can have a Giannis and a Ja. I mean, no. I'm pretty sure Giannis and Jokic are on similar. I guess they're talking about the market value. That just I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, market value. I mean, Jokic obviously has the 2 MVPs. I feel like the league has really gotten enamored with the big guys who can, fill up the stat sheets, are pretty athletic. I mean, when I say athletic, I'm of course talking about Giannis. Jokic is just a big guy, but
What
he's so smart. He takes over games. So
Well, and that's what's so crazy is what Giannis lacks in some of those, smarts and some of the more skill aspect of it. He makes up for in handfuls with his athleticism and his size. Man, there's nothing more frustrating than you can't touch him. He just extends this arm. It comes and slaps you 5 miles away in Chandler. But then he can't make a free throw. So it's like this guy, man. But he's a great player and leverages it well. Jason Tatum, again, not a surprise. I mean, Boston's a huge market. Another young guy. I don't think he's a huge social media guy, but no shocker there. Whew. Reddit, man, told you they got the stuff there.
hold on, I gotta pull up one more for you.
Okay, definitely. And hey, to anyone watching or listening back, if you see something on Reddit, send us a DM on any of these platforms and show us what you're looking at, and we might talk about it on this show. Eventually, I'm gonna, maybe throughout the week I keep an eye on the Reddits, the Suns Reddit, the NBA Reddit. If something stands out to me, I'm gonna bring it up. But every once in a while, like tonight, we'll just go through it. We'll see what the hottest take is on the Suns Reddit and react to it. So we want this to be an interactive show, guys. We want you to be a part of it.
Yeah. So on that note, Chris, I got one more for you before we call it a night. And let me show this here. Make sure I show the right one instead of double showing you and put us in like Inception. There he is. We're finally getting some. We're finally getting some run. The past couple of months, those summer runs like Rico Hines. Professional runs where a lot of guys will go out and film them and put them on YouTube, and it's some of the like just rawest basketball you can watch because these professional players go out there and they can do whatever they want basically.
Yeah.
Because it's just pickup games basically at the end of the day. But Chris Paul had his annual like elite guard camp, and Devin Booker was out there. It looks like DeMar DeRozan was out there, but look at that effortless like.
Yeah, why does it look like he's
height
4
on the
feet in
jump?
the air? Yeah, holy
Like,
cow.
is that for real? That's ridiculous. Like DeMar DeRozan is not a short guy. DeMar
No,
DeRozan
he's
is like, look it up, Chris. Can you look
6'6"
it
at
up for me?
least. Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
6. I want to say he's like my height or a little bit taller. I know he
At
plays
least.
majorly two guard, but he's almost fully extended with his hand, and it's not even. It's barely to Devin's chest.
Yeah, he's 6'6".
That's ridiculous, man.
So he's even taller than Book is.
My
That is
goodness.
insane. But I love that. I love that these guys, obviously Booker is a baller. He's gonna be playing year round. That would be an interesting, just thinking in that picture, thinking about DeMar DeRozan on the Suns. But we got that guy. We got that guy right there.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, I think it was his birthday today or the other day this week. So happy birthday, Mikhail. Definitely happy you're still here. And I know we're running short on time, Chris. So we'll have to get into the KD thing next time. Obviously, right now, Kevin Durant and the Nets front office and the organization have come to an agreement that he will come back and they will play. We will see how long it lasts. Right now, the dream is dead, but not completely. The light is still flickering. I'm holding on to hope. That's the last things I got to say about it.
There you go. Well, Mike, shoot, I could talk basketball with you for hours, for days. I probably could go a few days without sleeping and we could still talk basketball, but we agreed to keep this concise and to a specific length to where we will keep your interest. So And we want to save some more for the other episodes. We got a lot to say. So we're going to come back at you in a few weeks, maybe next week. I don't know. Keep an eye out on the social medias at Arizona_VSP. Every week, we're going to have a live stream for you in some form or fashion. You can go back and watch the videos we did in the past. We just had our NFL draft for fantasy football. That went well. It was kind of crazy. It was a little bit sloppy, but it was a lot of fun and hopefully a little bit entertaining. If you guys go back and watch on it, Mike was doing his best sideline reporter, Craig Sager impersonation, and I think he did a stellar job.
Dude, that was such a great time. And hey, as we continue to, get our feet a little bit more wet each time, we'll keep adding on different things, keep improving. And I appreciate everyone who joins us and supports us. And we can't do it without y'all. We appreciate y'all very much.
Yes, sir. So with that, we are going to get out of here. I think that I need to, there we go. I think I need to just say thank you guys one more time. If you made it this far, if you're still with us, let us know. Let us know what your favorite things were. Let us know what we could do different to make this a better experience for you. But yeah, all the thanks in the world. We'll be back at it. Keep an eye out, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.